Commander John Miller stood tall on the bridge of the USS Dauntless, his back straight and his blue uniform crisp. The massive view screen in front of him showed something humans had dreamed about for centuries: the Galactic Council's central station. It looked like a giant metal flower floating in space with 12 huge petal-shaped sections representing each member species. "Communications, open a channel," Miller said. His voice was calm, but his heart raced. This was humanity's big moment. Lisa, Wright, the communications officer, nodded. "Channel open, sir." Miller cleared his throat. "This is Commander John Miller of Earth vessel USS Dauntless. We come in peace, as representatives of humanity." The screen flickered, and a being with blue-gray skin and large dark eyes appeared. It had no hair and 6 fingers on each hand. "Greetings, humans of Earth. I am High Counselor Zendri of the Galactic Council. Your arrival was expected. Please proceed to Docking Bay 12. Representatives will meet you there." The transmission ended, and Miller looked at his crew. All of them wore the same expression, a mix of excitement and worry. "Well," Miller said with a small smile, "let's not keep them waiting." The Dauntless moved slowly toward the massive space station. It was tiny compared to the other ships docked there. Some looked like giant sea creatures, others like floating cities. The human ship was simple by comparison, practical and sturdy, but not fancy. 3 hours later, Miller stood with 5 other crew members in a giant hall. The ceiling was so high they couldn't see it. The room had 12 sections, one for each council species. The aliens looked very different from each other. Some had many limbs, others floated in special tanks. Some were tiny, others massive. An alien that looked like a tall, thin human with purple skin and no nose stepped forward. "I am Voltar, Council Secretary. We welcome Earth to this meeting. You are the first new species we have met in 200 years. Miller bowed slightly. "We are honored." Zendri, the blue-gray alien from the screen, joined them. "The Council has reviewed your application. Earth will be granted probationary membership." A low murmur went through the alien crowd. Miller felt both pride and relief. Earth had advanced quickly in the last 50 years, developing faster than light travel and making contact with the wider galaxy. But compared to these species, some of which had been space travelers for thousands of years, humans were newcomers. "Thank you," Miller said. "Earth is ready to join the galactic community." A large creature that looked like a cross between a bear and a lizard made a huffing sound. "Ready? Your species still fights wars among itself. You are violent and unpredictable." Miller fought to keep his face neutral. "Humanity has made great progress in the last century. We have united under a single government. We have not had a global war in 70 years. 70 years is nothing," the bear lizard said. "My species has been at peace for 12,000 years. Another alien, tall and thin with 4 arms, raised a hand. "Kelthine speaks too harshly, perhaps, but there are concerns about human behavior. Your history shows extreme violence." Miller nodded. "We don't deny our past, but we learn from it." Zendri made a gesture and the others fell silent. "Regardless, the vote has been taken. Earth is accepted as a probationary member. However, we wish to observe human military procedures more closely. 3 council representatives will join your ship for the next standard cycle." Miller tried not to show his surprise. Having alien observers on a military vessel wasn't ideal, but he couldn't refuse. "Of course. We welcome the opportunity to learn from each other." The meeting continued for several more hours, with various protocols explained. Earth was expected to follow council rules in trade, exploration, and especially military actions. The council had maintained peace among its members for over 2,000 years. They took their rules very seriously. 2 days later, the Dauntless left the council station with 3 new passengers: Zendri, Voltar, and a small, round alien named Kelthine. They were all high-ranking officials who wanted to see humans in action. "I hope your stay is comfortable," Miller said as he showed them to their quarters, specially modified for their needs. "We are not here for comfort," Kelthine said bluntly. We are here to assess if humans can be trusted. Miller nodded, politely, but inside he felt frustrated. The aliens seemed to have already decided that humans were dangerous. The Dauntless was assigned a routine patrol mission near the outer sectors, far from Earth. It was mostly peaceful space, with occasional pirate activity. The Council wanted to see how humans handled themselves in different situations. A week passed without incident. The alien observers followed Miller and other officers around, taking notes and asking questions. They seemed especially interested in human emotions and how they affected decision-making. Your species seems to experience feelings very strongly, Voltar noted during a meal. Does this not interfere with logical choices during crisis? Miller considered the question. Sometimes emotions can cloud judgment, but they can also drive us to find solutions when logic alone might fail. The aliens exchanged looks that Miller couldn't read. On the 10th day, everything changed. The Dauntless received a distress call from a nearby trading post. It was under attack by Kreshik pirates, a species known for their brutality that operated outside Council space. Set course. For the trading post, maximum speed, Miller ordered. Battle stations. The alien observers watched carefully as the crew prepared for potential combat. They seemed surprised by the efficiency and calmness of the humans. I expected more. Emotion, Zendri said quietly to Voltar. The ship's sensors soon picked up the battle. 5 Kreshik ships were attacking a small trading station. The station's shields were failing. We are outnumbered, Kevin Barnes, the tactical officer, reported. Miller nodded. Open a channel to the Kreshik ships. Lisa established communication. The screen showed a Kreshik captain, gray-skinned with sharp teeth and yellow eyes. This is Commander Miller of the USS Dauntless. You are attacking a neutral trading post, in violation of Council law. Cease your attack immediately. The Kreshik captain laughed. The Council has no authority here, human. Leave or die with them. The connection cut off. Miller looked at his alien observers. We are obligated to defend the trading post, he said. Council rules permit defensive action. Zendri nodded slowly. Yes, but we will be watching how you conduct this defense very carefully. Miller turned back to his crew. Shields up, weapons ready. Let's show our guest how humans handle a fight. The bridge of the USS Dauntless hummed with energy as the 5 Kreshik pirate ships came into view. The trading post behind them sent out weak distress signals. Its outer hull was already damaged, with fires visible through broken sections. The 3 alien observers stood at the back of the bridge. They watched the humans with great interest. This would be their first time seeing humans in actual combat. Tactical assessment, Commander Miller said, his voice steady. Kevin Barnes, the tactical officer, quickly reviewed his screens. 5 Kreshik ships, Commander. 3 medium cruisers, 2 smaller attack vessels, all armed with plasma cannons and missile systems. Our ship is outgunned about 3 to 1. Miller nodded. Options? We could call for backup, suggested Lisa Wright from Communications. There's a Council patrol about 2 hours away. The trading post won't last 2 hours, Miller replied. Navigation, bring us in between the pirates and the trading post. Tactical, prepare defensive pattern Delta. The alien observers glanced at each other. This was expected behavior so far. The humans were talking through their options, communicating clearly. Voltar made notes on a small device. Entering weapons range in 30 seconds, the navigation officer reported. His voice was a bit louder than normal. Miller stood up from his chair. Open a channel to all Kreshik ships. The main screen flickered to life, showing the snarling face of the Kreshik leader again. Last warning, Miller said firmly. Withdraw now, or we will be forced to defend this station with all necessary measures. The Kreshik captain bared his sharp teeth in what might have been a smile. 1 human ship against 5 of ours. Your death will be entertaining at least. The screen went dark. They're powering weapons, Barnes reported. All ships targeting us. Shields at maximum, Miller ordered. Prepare to execute evasive pattern Bravo on my mark. And then something happened that confused the alien observers. The bridge went quiet. Not completely silent, but the constant chatter and verbal confirmations that had filled the space moments ago simply stopped. The human crew members looked at their stations with intense focus. Their movements became precise and economical. No wasted words, no wasted motion. "Mark," Miller said quietly. The Dauntless moved with surprising agility for its size, twisting between two incoming volleys of plasma fire. The shields flared blue, where some shots still connected, but the ship took no serious damage. "Target lead cruiser. Weapons free," Miller said. His voice was softer than before, almost casual. Barnes didn't acknowledge the order verbally. He simply pressed several controls. In quick succession, the Dauntless fired a series of precision shots that hit the lead Kreshik ship exactly where its shields were weakest. Gendry stepped closer to Miller. "Commander, your crew has stopped communicating clearly. Is there a problem with your protocols?" Miller didn't look away from the main screen. "No problem. Executing combat response." The alien observers exchanged worried glances. This wasn't what they expected at all. In their own species, combat led to increased vocalizations, shouted orders, confirmations, warnings. The bridge should be getting louder, not quieter. D2. Kreshik ships adjusted their formation, trying to surround the Dauntless. One of their shots hit the human ship hard enough to shake the bridge. "Damage?" Miller asked. "Shields at 82%. No hull breach," someone reported. The voice was flat, almost bored. "Lisa, pattern 6, Miller said. "The communications." Officer didn't respond verbally. She simply nodded and worked her console. The alien observers had no idea what pattern 6 meant, but clearly the human crew did. Suddenly, the Dauntless accelerated straight toward one of the smaller Kreshik ships. The move was so unexpected that the pirate vessel couldn't adjust in time. The Dauntless fired all forward weapons directly into the enemy's shield generators, then pulled up sharply just before collision. The Kreshik ship's shields failed completely. The Dauntless circled back and fired again, this time hitting engines and weapon systems with surgical precision. The pirate ship began drifting, disabled but not destroyed. "One down," Barnes said quietly. Just 2 words, where earlier he might have given a full status report. Kelthine, the small round alien observer, waddled closer to Voltar. "Their behavior has changed," Kelthine whispered. "Look at their biosigns." Voltar glanced at his monitoring device. What he saw made no sense. The humans' heart rates had actually decreased slightly. Their breathing was slow and regular. By all measurements, they were calmer now in the middle of battle than they had been during routine operations. The remaining Kreshik ships regrouped and launched a coordinated attack. Missiles streaked toward the Dauntless from multiple directions. "Point. Defense," Miller said. Just those 2 words. The weapons officer responded by activating the ship's close-range defense systems. Laser turrets tracked and destroyed most of the incoming missiles. 2 got through, rocking the ship violently. One of the alien observers fell to the floor but quickly got up again. "Damage report," Miller said, still standing calmly, despite the ship shaking around him. "Shields at 60%. Minor damage to Deck 3. No casualties." Miller nodded once. "Navigation, position Alpha. Tactical, full spread on my mark." The crew members didn't acknowledge these commands verbally. They simply carried them out with quiet efficiency. The Dauntless moved into position between 2 of the Kreshik cruisers. "Mark," Miller said. The Dauntless fired all weapons simultaneously, spreading its attack between the 2 enemy ships. Both took significant damage. One Kreshik cruiser's engines flared and then went dark. The ship began spinning slowly, out of control. "Sir, they're targeting the trading post again," Barnes reported, his voice still unnervingly calm. Without a word, Miller pointed to the navigation officer, who immediately adjusted course to block the pirates' line of fire. Gendry stepped forward again. "Commander Miller, I must insist that your crew return to proper communication protocols. This silence is disturbing." Miller glanced at the alien, then back to the view screen. "This is our protocol," he said simply. A powerful shot from the remaining Kreshik cruiser hit the Dauntless directly. The lights flickered, and several consoles sparked. "Shields at 30%, someone reported. Miller tilted his head slightly. "Lisa, execute Thunderbolt." Again, no verbal acknowledgement. Lisa simply pressed a series of buttons on her console. The main lights on the Dauntless suddenly went out. Emergency lighting kicked in, bathing the bridge in a dim red glow. To the observers, it looked like the ship had taken critical damage. The Kreshik ships paused their attack, perhaps thinking they had disabled the human vessel. 20 seconds passed in complete silence. The aliens looked at each other in confusion. The human crew remained at their stations, still and focused. Then, without warning, all power returned to the Dauntless. The ship surged forward at maximum speed, weapons firing in a continuous barrage. The attack caught the remaining Kreshik ships completely by surprise. One of the smaller pirate ships exploded as multiple direct hits overloaded its reactor. The last cruiser tried to retreat, but the Dauntless pursued relentlessly. A final precision strike disabled its engines. "Target neutralized," Barnes said. Just like that, the battle was over. 5 enemy ships had been reduced to 1 disabled. Cruiser, 1 ship destroyed, and 3 drifting with major damage. Slowly, gradually, the bridge began to return to normal. Crew members started giving full reports again. People checked on each other. Someone even managed a small joke about Kreshik ship design that drew a few quiet laughs. Miller turned to the alien observers. All 3 were staring at the humans, with expressions that ranged from confusion to alarm. "Is something wrong?" Miller asked. Zendri stepped forward. "What happened to your crew during combat?" Miller looked puzzled. "Nothing happened. We engaged the enemy and protected the trading post. But you all went quiet," Voltar said. "Almost no communication, no confirmation of orders, your entire demeanor changed." Miller shrugged slightly. "That's just how humans operate when things get serious. We focus." The 3 aliens looked at each other. This was something they had never seen before, something that none of the Council's studies on human behavior had predicted, and it terrified them. The Great Hall of the Galactic Council buzzed with nervous energy. All 12 species had representatives present, sitting in their designated sections. The massive room, usually orderly and calm, was filled with uneasy murmurs. At the center of the hall, 3 figures stood on the speaking platform: Zendri, Voltar, and Keltine. They had just finished presenting their report on what they had witnessed aboard the human ship USS Dauntless. "This behavior was not mentioned in any of our studies of human psychology," Zendri said, addressing the full council. When the battle began, the entire crew changed. They stopped talking. Their movements became different, precise, cold. High Counselor Zuak, a tall being with iridescent scales covering its body, leaned forward. Perhaps their communication systems malfunctioned? "No," Voltar said firmly. "We checked. Their systems worked perfectly. They chose to stop communicating verbally." Kelthine, the small round alien, bobbed up and down in agitation. "And their vital signs. Their heart rates decreased during battle. They became calmer when facing death. This is not normal behavior for any known species." The council chamber grew louder as representatives discussed this information with their aides. Several appeared visibly disturbed. "We need more information," said Counselor Miva, whose species resembled giant jellyfish floating in special gravity suits. Perhaps these humans were not representative of their species. The main doors to the chamber opened and a human woman entered. She wore a dark blue uniform with silver insignia on the shoulders. "This is Security Chief Diane Palmer from Earth," Zendri announced. "We have asked her to explain what we observed." Palmer walked confidently to the center of the chamber. She had short brown hair and moved with the easy grace of someone comfortable with her body. She showed no signs of nervousness despite facing representatives of 12 alien species. "Thank you for inviting me," Palmer said. "I understand there are concerns about human behavior during combat situations." "Concerns?" A counselor from the back of the room called out. "Your people become like machines when they fight. It is disturbing." Palmer nodded calmly. "I understand why it might seem strange to you. But this is normal human behavior during crisis situations. When humans face danger, especially life-threatening danger, we often become quieter, not louder." "But why?" Zendri asked. "All other Known sentient species increase vocalizations during danger. It's a biological response to stress. Humans are different, Palmer explained. When we face extreme stress, our minds enter what we call tactical mode. We filter out unnecessary information. We communicate only what's absolutely needed. It's not that we become machines. We're actually thinking very clearly. She paused, looking around the room. Think of it this way. For most species, danger triggers an instinct to alert the pack or herd. You get louder to warn others. Humans evolved differently. When our ancient ancestors hunted dangerous prey or faced threats, making noise often meant death. Palmer activated a small device she carried. A hologram appeared above the chamber floor, showing human historical images. Here are examples from our history, she said. The images showed human soldiers using hand signals instead of talking. Another clip showed emergency workers during some kind of disaster, working in near silence as they rescued people. In our most elite military units, the ability to communicate with minimal sound is highly valued, Palmer continued. Some teams can conduct entire operations using only hand gestures or single words that represent complex concepts. Many council members looked disturbed by this information. But what about the physiological changes? Keltine asked. The observers reported decreased heart rates during battle. That defies biological norms. Palmer nodded. That's another human trait. We call it combat calm, or sometimes the zone. When properly trained, humans actually become physiologically calmer during crisis. Our focus narrows. Our movements become more efficient. Time seems to slow down for us. She showed another hologram, this one displaying human medical data. This isn't something we invented recently. It's deep in our biology, from thousands of years ago when we had to hunt dangerous animals or defend against predators. The council chamber had gone very quiet now. Many species had evolved from herd animals or pack hunters. The idea of predators, who became quieter and calmer when preparing to kill, was deeply unsettling to them. A new figure entered the chamber, a tall human man with gray hair and a heavily decorated uniform. This is Admiral Frank Morgan of Earth's Space Fleet, Zendri announced. Morgan joined Palmer at the center of the room. He carried a data pad, which he connected to the hologram system. I've brought some information that might help explain what your observers witnessed, Morgan said. His voice was deep and steady. This is data from hundreds of human combat situations. The hologram showed graphs and charts. What you're seeing is the inverse relationship between situation severity and human verbosity, Morgan explained. In simple terms, the more dangerous things get, the less we talk. He pointed to one graph. This line shows communication volume. This one shows mission danger level. Notice how they move in opposite directions. The council representatives studied the data. Some whispered to each other. Others looked increasingly alarmed. Let me get this straight, said Councillor Zuak. When humans are relaxed, they talk normally. When they face mild challenges, they talk less. And when they're in life-threatening danger, they go almost completely silent, Morgan finished. Yes, that's correct. And this isn't just a cultural trait, it's deeply biological. Palmer stepped forward again. I want to emphasize something important. This doesn't mean humans are more violent than other species. We don't enjoy combat. We don't seek it out. We simply handle it differently than you do. The council's lead psychologist, a small blue being named Dr. Lorinda, joined the discussion. But our studies indicate that vocalizing during stress is universal among sentient beings. It releases tension. It coordinates group action. What you describe violates all known patterns. With respect, Doctor, Palmer said, your studies didn't include enough human subjects. If they had, you would have discovered this pattern. Morgan brought up a new image. Security footage from the battle between the Dauntless and the Kreshik pirates. Watch this clip, he said. The footage showed Commander Miller giving shorter and shorter commands as the battle intensified. It showed how the crew responded with minimal acknowledgement, yet carried out complex maneuvers perfectly. Notice there's no panic, Morgan pointed out. No shouting, no confusion. When human lives are on the line, this is how we respond. We don't have time for long sentences. The council chamber remained silent for several moments after the footage ended. Finally, High Counselor Zuak spoke. This is concerning. If I understand correctly, when humans stop talking during conflict, it means we're fully committed to the action, Palmer said quietly. It means we've moved beyond discussion to pure execution. In military terms, Morgan added, when humans go silent in battle, it typically means one thing. Whoever they're fighting is about to lose. The council erupted into loud discussions. Several representatives appeared genuinely frightened. Others seemed fascinated. Sendri raised a hand for silence. When the room quieted, he addressed Palmer and Morgan directly. What you've described is unlike anything in our records of sentient behavior. It suggests humans have predatory instincts that manifest in ways we find alien. Palmer nodded. We understand this is strange to you, but I hope you also see the advantages. Human crews can function efficiently under extreme stress. We don't panic, we don't break down, we focus and we solve the problem. Or eliminate the threat, Kelthine added quietly. Yes, Palmer acknowledged. If necessary. The council called for a brief recess to discuss this new information privately. When the session resumed an hour later, the atmosphere had changed. The representatives seemed to have reached some kind of consensus. We have decided, High Counselor Zuek announced, that further study of human combat psychology is warranted. We request permission to observe human military training exercises. Morgan nodded. That can be arranged. Additionally, Zuek continued, we believe all council peacekeeping forces should be educated about this human trait, for their own safety. Palmer and Morgan exchanged a quick glance. We're happy to help with educational materials, Palmer said, though I want to assure the council again that humans are not inherently more dangerous than other species. Perhaps not inherently, Zendri said, but you must understand how this appears to us. When most species face danger, they make noise. It's a warning. It gives others a chance to respond, to negotiate, to flee. But humans, he paused, choosing his words carefully. Humans simply go quiet and then act with lethal precision. Palmer smiled slightly. There's an old saying on Earth, beware the fury of a patient man. No one in the council chamber seemed reassured by this statement. As the session ended, Dr. Lorinda approached the human representatives privately. I find your species fascinating, the alien psychologist said. This quiet focus you describe, we call something similar predator state, in certain extinct species from our worlds. But never before have we encountered it in a sentient, spacefaring race. Is that good or bad? Palmer asked. 2 months after the council meeting, a small group gathered in a secure room deep inside the council headquarters. This wasn't an official meeting. No records would show it had happened. 6 council members sat around a curved table. They represented the more cautious species, those most concerned about human membership in the galactic community. The humans are dangerous, said Counselor Drex, a tall insectoid being with compound eyes. We've all reviewed the combat footage. Their behavior is not normal. But they haven't broken any rules, Counselor Yelney pointed out. Her translucent skin pulsed with blue light as she spoke. They defended a trading post from pirates. They disabled most enemy ships rather than destroying them. It's not what they did, Drex insisted. It's how they did it. That unnatural calm. That silence. I've studied predator species for decades, and I've never seen anything like it. The others murmured in agreement. I propose a test, said Counselor Marvick, the oldest member present. His species resembled large turtles with 6 limbs. We need to know how humans react under true pressure, not just a small pirate skirmish. What kind of test? Yelney asked, sounding worried. A simulated attack, Marvich replied. On one of their colonies. The room went quiet. That would violate several council laws, Yelney said finally. Not if we classify it as a training exercise, Marvick countered. We've done similar tests with other new species. The difference is that the humans won't know it's a test until afterward. After much debate, they agreed. The test would target the human colony of New Denver, a small outpost with about 5,000 settlers. The colony had a small defense force led by Lieutenant Amy Clark. The Council would create a simulated enemy fleet that appeared to be attacking. Council observers would monitor the humans' responses. What could go wrong? 3 weeks later, Lieutenant Amy Clark was having a quiet day on New Denver. The colony was thriving, with new buildings going up every week. From her office window, she could see farmers working in the fields that surrounded the main settlement. Her communication console beeped. "Lieutenant Clark, this is Outpost 7. We're picking up unusual readings at the edge of the system." Clark frowned. New Denver was far from any trouble spots. "What kind of readings?" "Ships, ma'am. A lot of them. They're not responding to hails." Clark's training kicked in immediately. "Sound the alert. Get our defense ships ready to launch. I'm on my way to the command center." 20 minutes later, Clark stood in New Denver's small military command center. The main screen showed 15 unknown vessels approaching the colony. They were still several hours away, but moving fast. "Any response to our messages?" she asked. "No, ma'am," replied Communications Officer Pete Dawson. "They're ignoring all standard frequencies." Clark studied the tactical display. New Denver had 3 small defense ships. They were badly outnumbered. "Send an emergency message to Earth Fleet Headquarters," she ordered. "Request immediate assistance." She turned to her tactical officer, Sam Nelson. "What's our defense capability?" 3. "Ships ready to launch, ma'am. Colony shields at full strength, but they won't hold against a determined attack from that many vessels." Clark nodded. "Launch all ships. Position them in defense pattern echo." What Clark didn't know was that the approaching fleet wasn't real. It was a sophisticated hologram created by Council technology. Hidden Council ships nearby controlled the simulation. 7 Council observers monitored everything from a cloaked vessel in orbit. "The humans are responding as expected," reported one observer. "They've launched their defense ships." "Their communications are normal so far," noted another. "No sign of the quiet phenomenon yet." The leader of the observation team, a Voltar named Kryn, watched with intense interest. "Increase the threat level. Make it look like the attackers are preparing to fire." The simulated ships accelerated and spread out into an attack formation. In the command center, Clark received new information. "Ma'am, the unknown vessels are charging weapons. They'll be in firing range in 10 minutes. Clark's face showed no fear, only concentration. "Open a channel to our ships." The screen split to show the captains of New Denver's 3 small defense vessels. "We're outnumbered," Clark said calmly. "But we have 2 advantages. We know this system better than they do, and we're fighting for our homes. Captain Rogers, take your ship behind the 4th moon. Captains Lee and Wong, hold position until the enemy is committed, then execute flanking maneuver Delta." The 3 captains nodded. No one asked questions. No one showed panic. "Good hunting," Clark said simply. The communication ended. In the Council observation ship, the monitors showed something interesting. "Their communication pattern is changing," one observer reported. "Shorter sentences, fewer acknowledgements." Kryn leaned forward. "It's starting, the quiet phenomenon." "Should we end the simulation?" another observer asked nervously. "No," Kryn said. "We need to see how far this goes. Increase the threat level again." The simulated ships opened fire. Of course, no real weapons were fired, but the Council technology made it appear that way on human sensors. It looked like plasma bolts and missiles were streaming toward the colony and its defenders. In the command center, alerts sounded as the sensors detected incoming fire. "Evasive action," Clark ordered. Her voice had dropped, becoming softer and more controlled. "Colonial shields up." The tactical display showed 2 enemy ships breaking off to attack the colony directly, while the rest engaged the defending vessels. One of the Council observers looked worried. "This is more aggressive than we planned. Who authorized this attack? Pattern?" Kryn checked the simulation controls. "Something's wrong. The simulation parameters have been altered." Another observer moved quickly to a different console. We've been hacked. Someone has taken control of the simulation. Crin's eyes widened in alarm. Abort! Shut it down now! But nothing happened when they tried to end the simulation. The controls were locked. In the New Denver Command Center, things were getting bad. The tactical display showed one defense ship heavily damaged, and enemy vessels closing on the colony. Shields at 60%, reported Sam. His voice was now as calm and quiet as Clark's. Pete, send this message to all ships, Clark said. Her voice was barely above a whisper. Execute Ghost Protocol. Pete didn't verbally acknowledge. He simply sent the message. In the observation ship, alarms were going off. What's happening? Crin demanded. What is Ghost Protocol? No one had an answer. The monitor showed the 3 human ships suddenly powering down completely. They appeared dead in space. Did we damage them that badly? One observer asked in confusion. No, another replied. I think they did this deliberately. For 30 seconds, nothing happened. The simulated enemy ships closed in on the apparently disabled human vessels. Then, without warning, all 3 human ships powered up simultaneously. But they didn't appear on any normal sensors. Somehow they had modified their energy signatures to be nearly undetectable. Before the Council observers could understand what was happening, the human ships executed a complex maneuver that no one had seen before. They moved in perfect coordination without exchanging a single communication. They're not talking to each other at all now, an observer reported, voice shaking. Not even short commands. Nothing. On the tactical displays, the human ships struck with devastating precision. They targeted the simulated ship's key systems in a way that shouldn't have been possible without detailed knowledge of their design. This is impossible, Crin whispered. How do they know where to hit? These ship designs aren't even used in this part of the galaxy. In under 2 minutes, the simulation showed half the attacking fleet disabled or destroyed. 1 month after the New Denver incident, the full Galactic Council gathered for a special session. All 12 species were represented, with their highest-ranking officials present. The chamber was packed, with aides and specialists filling the observer sections. The topic on the agenda: Human Combat Response Protocols and Galactic Security. High Counselor Zuak called the session to order. Following recent events, it has become clear that we must establish new guidelines regarding human military operations within Council space. Our traditional understanding of combat behavior does not adequately account for human response patterns. On a special platform sat 3 humans, Admiral Frank Morgan, Security Chief Diane Palmer, and Lieutenant Amy Clark, whose team had so impressively defended New Denver during the unauthorized test. Before we begin formal discussions, Zuak continued, I believe it would benefit all present to hear directly from Lieutenant Clark about the events at New Denver. Clark stood and walked to the central speaking position. She wore her dress uniform and looked completely at ease despite the hundreds of alien eyes watching her. Thank you, High Counselor, she began. I've reviewed the records of what happened during the simulated attack. I understand there are concerns about how my team responded. Concerns is an understatement, muttered Counselor Drex, though his microphone was off. Clark continued. When we detected what we believed was an enemy fleet approaching our colony, we followed standard Earth defense protocols. As the situation escalated, we shifted to what we call minimal communication mode to maximize efficiency. Can you explain this mode in more detail? Asked Counselor Yelney. It's a state where we eliminate all unnecessary communication, Clark said. Every word spoken requires mental resources, both to say and to process. In life or death situations, those resources are better used for problem solving and action. But how did your ships coordinate so perfectly without talking to each other? Asked another counselor. We train for it, Clark said simply. Every member of my team knows exactly what Pattern Delta or Ghost Protocol means. We don't need to explain the details during a crisis because we've practiced them hundreds of times. The council members murmured among themselves. The concept was clearly still foreign to many of them. Admiral Morgan stepped forward to join Clark. What the council witnessed at New Denver wasn't unusual for humans. Throughout our history, our most effective military and emergency response units have operated this way. He activated a holographic display showing historical footage. Firefighters, working in near silence to save people from a burning building. Special Forces soldiers using hand signals during an operation. Emergency room doctors and nurses working wordlessly during a crisis. This isn't aggression, Morgan emphasized. It's focus, it's efficiency, and yes, when necessary, it's lethality, but only when there's no other choice. After a brief discussion, High Counselor Zuak called for order. We will now vote on the proposed Human Combat Silence Protocol. This would establish an official warning to be added to all Council military manuals and emergency response guides. The vote was conducted silently, with each Council member registering their choice on personal devices. The results appeared on the main display: 10 in favor, 2 abstaining, 0 against. The protocol is approved, Zuak announced. From this day forward, all Council species will be officially advised. If humans cease communications during conflict, withdraw immediately. Palmer exchanged a quick glance with Morgan. Neither had expected such a direct acknowledgement of human combat effectiveness. Counselor Voltar rose to speak next. While this protocol addresses immediate safety concerns, I believe we must go further. I propose a research initiative to better understand human psychology, particularly these unique stress responses. What kind of research? Morgan asked cautiously. Nothing like the New Denver incident, Voltar assured him. I suggest cooperative studies, with human volunteers working alongside Council psychologists. We've lived in this galaxy together for thousands of years without encountering a species that responds to danger as humans do. There's much we could learn from each other. The Council voted again, approving the research initiative. There is one more item to discuss, Zuak said. In light of recent events, the Council proposes organizing the first joint military exercises between human forces and Council peacekeepers. These would be fully transparent, with shared planning and objectives. Morgan nodded. Earth would welcome such exercises. They would help us develop common protocols and build trust. Excellent, Zuak said. We will begin preparations immediately. 3 weeks later, the joint exercises began in a neutral star system. 5 human ships, including the USS Dauntless under Commander Miller, joined 7 Council vessels for simulated combat scenarios against programmed drone ships. The exercises started well. The human and alien crews worked together effectively during simple scenarios. The Council ships were impressed by human efficiency, while the humans appreciated the advanced technology of the alien vessels. On the 4th day, the exercise controllers threw in an unexpected scenario, a surprise attack by twice as many drone ships as planned, with several targeting a simulated civilian station. Commander Miller's voice came over the shared communication channel. All ships defensive formation around the station. Dauntless and Kelvin take point. The Council ships moved into position, their captains acknowledging the orders with formal responses. The human ships also moved into formation, but something was happening on their communication channels. They were going quiet. Human vessels, please confirm your status, Gyu, called the captain of a Council ship. No response came from the Dauntless. On the video feed, Miller could be seen calmly directing his crew with shorthand gestures and single-word commands. They've entered combat silence, reported an alien observer on the control ship, just as described in the new protocol. What happened next astonished the Council representatives. The human ships moved with incredible coordination, executing complex maneuvers without exchanging a single word. They anticipated the drone ships' actions and countered them perfectly. Within minutes, all the drone ships had been neutralized without a single hit on the civilian station. When the exercise ended, communication returned to normal. Commander, Miller's voice came back on the channel, casual and friendly as if nothing unusual had happened. The exercise controller, a senior Council military officer, requested an immediate debrief. All ship captains gathered on the control vessel. That was impressive, the controller said to Miller, but disturbing. Your ships went completely silent during the surprise attack. Miller nodded. It's our most efficient mode of operation during crisis situations. I thought everyone was aware of this after the new protocol was established. We were aware in theory, the controller replied. Seeing it in practice is different. When your ship stopped communicating, several of our captains thought something had gone wrong. Nothing went wrong, Miller said. We were just focused. One of the alien captains spoke up. But how did you coordinate your movements so precisely? At one point, 2 of your ships executed a pincer maneuver on a drone without exchanging any information. We didn't need to exchange information, Miller explained. We trained together. We know how each other thinks. When I moved my ship to the left, Captain Chen knew automatically to move right. Another alien captain looked troubled. In our species, even our most elite military units maintain constant communication during battle. It's how we coordinate. It's how we know we're not alone. Miller considered this. Humans are different. For us, too much talk during a crisis can be dangerous. It divides attention. I think, the exercise controller said carefully, that we need to reconsider the joint exercise protocols. Perhaps separate human and council ship groups, coordinating at a higher level, but operating independently. That might be best. Miller agreed. At least until we better understand each other's methods, the controller nodded. And I believe I'll be recommending that the human combat silence warning be upgraded from an advisory to a mandatory protocol. Back on the Galactic Council station, a final meeting was held to review the exercise results. Admiral Morgan, Security. Chief Palmer and representatives from all Council species attended. The joint exercises were educational, but concerning, reported the exercise controller. When the surprise scenario was introduced, all human ships immediately went silent and entered what they call tactical focus mode. While impressive in its effectiveness, this behavior is deeply unsettling to our forces. High Counselor Zuak nodded. Based on these findings, the Council has voted to upgrade the human combat silence warning to a Class 1 protocol. Palmer raised an eyebrow. Class 1? That's usually reserved for imminent catastrophic threats. Yes, Zuak acknowledged. Because we've realized something important about humans. When you go silent in battle, it typically means only one thing. You've committed fully to lethal action. The room was quiet for a moment. That's not inaccurate, Morgan said finally. Then you understand our concern, Zuak replied. No other known species has this trait. When our kind face danger, we communicate more, not less. It's a fundamental biological response.